Lost in space and time for over 10,000 years, on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
Oh no, I missed an episode of the podcast.
How long were you going to take the gimmick?
Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Good.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. This is the Oswego Comic Shop does a podcast.
Oh,
Or
what
I don't know what was happening there. Was that ASMR?
I don't know. Is that creepy?
It's a little creepy.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
on brand for us. We're a lot of creepy.
Well,
Yeah, not you.
not on purpose.
Not you. Anyway, introduce yourself.
I'm Aaron Z. Lee, also known as Pens and Pedals, creator of such fine products as Preetza's Pizza, Creep of the Crop, and Wesley the Robot.
I'm sorry, you are Ben Savage, and I am Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and we're
Oh.
here with a very special guest
what?
star, Stefan Urkel.
Oh, wow. Oh, there you go. Now he's on brand.
But I can't see anything, so.
All right.
Oh, you know what's funny is my wife isn't watching right now because she took Lucy to the farmer's market.
To sell the dog
I never said she was selling the dog.
at the farmer's market? That's so
no,
weird.
we're not selling the dog. But she loves Boy Meets World. Ben Savage. Is he the Boy Meets World?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just like seeing the text on screen. It's just like, what are those words?
They're just words. It's a name.
Do you ever look at letters or words and just think, is that really what that is?
All the time.
All the time. Isn't that weird that there's like some kind of psychological thing where like you'll type a word a million times and then you're looking at the word one day and you're like, I don't think I spelled that correctly. Or that's not,
Oh, yeah.
that's not but it is. It's just one of those bizarro things.
I was a graphic designer for years. That was my life, being too close to the text and being like, hey, does this look right?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, we're here today to talk about 1994. It was a very good year.
I think I enjoyed it. I think it was when I got like full on into comics. Was 94 was the first year.
I think I got into comics in February of 91. And we'll do a first comic episode at some point. But my dad brought home a Star Trek comic when I was sick in like third grade or whatever. And that kind of started it. Jonathan Legoman, JTT in the house. Word to your mother.
Your wife has been sent a screen cap of the of your name.
Good.
Oh, you should have made me Ryder Strong.
We try to keep it family friendly here.
No, but she had a crush on Ryder Strong.
What was I saying? So comics, yeah, 94. 94 was a year, I feel like, where the industry was changing a lot. Kind of peak comics, would you say, Martin?
In what way?
In terms of just like
Sales,
Quality.
Not quality.
Not quality.
Definitely not quality. Love me my 90s, but there was a lot of stuff just churned out for the sake of being churned out.
I don't understand how the microphones were so quiet yesterday and they're so loud today.
Oh.
So no,
Am I good? Am I good for once?
You're
Usually
fine.
you're yelling at
I'll
me.
fiddle with levels.
Should
But
hit
it kind
me
of
afterwards.
I kind of feel like this was because Death of Superman was fall of 93.
Mm-hmm.
And Death of Superman, I think, is widely regarded as like the end of the comics boom.
Beginning and the end, yeah.
Beginning of the end. And I think by 95, kind of everything collapses.
Yeah. Basically, for those that don't know, the early 90s, the comic companies found a way to sell comics by introducing a lot of gimmicks, a lot of big, crazy events like Death of Superman, which drove the collector market. So people were just basically hoarding comics. That was the market that was being tailored to. You had the formation of Image, which also fed into this. And it was just a model that was not sustainable because you can't keep outdoing what you're doing, especially when returns start coming in low on these investments for people. So as 94 progressed, a lot of comic shops were closing. A lot of them that had just started up with the boom.
I specifically remember in 93, there was a store that opened by me that it was the first comic shop within walking distance, because I would go to the mall sometimes with my folks or whatever, and there was at least one comic shop there. The Good Mall had like 2 or 3 comic shops in it. It was wild. Oh, two
remember-
comic shops and an
yeah.
FYE that sold comics, and the comic selection at FYE was good. It was good. But the comic shop opened by me in '93, and it was maybe a mile and a half walk. It wasn't close, but like as a 12-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid, like you just did it. But I distinctly remember, like, the only thing I feel like I ever participated in there was Death of Superman. That I feel like it was like the store opened, there was Death of Superman, and then maybe 6 months later the shop closed. It was a very weird. I don't know.
I remember like there was a comic. I think it was either in Carousel Mall or Great Northern Mall. There was a comic shop in there too, and I don't think it was there very long. Maybe it was Uncanny Comics.
Uncanny Comics shop. That was, I think, Arlene would know. There was a handful of guys who had partnered up for that one, and things did not go well with that partnership.
Martin, explain your joke in the chat, because it took me a second. Not a joke, but your fact. Some might call
I'm
this
not
a
even in
fact,
chat.
a factoid, right?
I believe that Zero Hour was one of the comics that went backwards in numbering. So you went 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
That's a factoid.
I got
Factoid.
a bunch of Death's Head 2 comics from Uncanny Comics, and that was also around the same time when X-Men 300
Came
was brand new.
Holofoil.
Yeah, with the John Romita Jr.
Yep.
I don't remember that cover.
Everybody loves
It's the
John
one. It's got
Romita Jr.
all the X's are in holofoil around
Yep,
it.
I remember that cover. So let's start. Do we want to go month by month here? You kind of have a little bit of a month.
I do have a month by month breakdown. I think.
Tell
that
us the story, Martin.
Okay, one day there was a comic industry, and it was doing really, really well. And then a bunch of factors conspired, and it started to not do well. And so overall, a whole bunch of stores closed. Things like Continuity Comics, Now Comics, they shut their doors.
Do you remember Continuity Comics?
Only in retrospect. I think I had a couple weird things, and I scoop them up whenever I see them now, like Valeria the She-Bat and
Okay.
Roller Skate Man.
That's where I was going to go with, was because we just did Neil Adams, was Valeria Sheback Continuity Comics, and that's what I remember them from.
And I left Apple Comics in there because I only know them from our Wizard thing that we did. It was one of the ones that was mentioned.
I may have
in that
something
issue.
weird from Apple.
I don't remember Apple
Yeah.
Comics at all.
But Chaos Comics started up in '94, which seems kind of late for.
Yeah,
considering that they
it's
were
Brian
Bad
Pulido,
Girl.
right?
Yeah.
Brian Pulido, yeah.
Crusade Comics and Sirius Entertainment all started. I
What was Crusade?
don't quite remember, but I vaguely remember the logo.
I vaguely remember the logo, too. I don't know.
It's one of the ones I don't know.
So in January, we'll just go through January. Eagle, a series that started in 1982, I'd never heard of, by Fleetway Comics, was canceled at issue 574, which I think kind of starts off the whole year with a bang.
574
574 issues,
of a book I've
never heard of, by a company I never heard of.
That's amazing.
But I think
That's
it's just
amazing. I love stuff like
symbolic
that.
of what was going to happen for the year. Well, my first thing is actually Kyle Rayner is introduced as the new Green Lantern in January. Do you know much about that?
Kyle Rayner?
Yeah.
He's a lantern.
And what happened, why he became Lantern and all that?
Do you know that? Actually, do you
I believe it had something to do with a cooling utility,
Well,
a home fixture.
but that's not why he became
No.
a lantern. That's just there's a lady in a refrigerator.
So every DC character had to have an event. Superman had to die. Batman needed his back broken. So they quickly threw together the wonderfully beloved storyline of Hal Jordan going crazy and killing all the
Parallax.
Lanterns. Yes. This was, and it was actually really. I read an article quite a while ago that there are preview solicitations for what those issues should have been, but at the last minute that was yanked, and Ron
wow.
Mars was thrown this project, the writer, to try and introduce a new Lantern and all this stuff. So so Kyle Rayner came in. He was going to replace the old traditional Green Lantern. Why is there faces? There's faces.
We're just being silly.
Okay.
It's a visual show as well as audio.
He oh gosh.
If you're not watching the video, you're not getting the full story.
I'm not getting the full story. So after Emerald Twilight, Kyle Rayner is introduced, He is younger. He's hipper. He's a comic book artist. He lives in L.A.
Oh, that's right. He is a
Um,
comic book artist.
he-
I do
uh,
like that. I
He
do
has
know
more
that.
fun
I
with
don't
this.
know. I don't really like comic book artists.
Oh.
Hal Jordan was known for his like static kind of things he did with the ring construct, and Kyle Rayner kind of thought outside the box and did these weird, elaborate things. He was
Like make a giant fist.
even more than that. I mean, the fist was operated by 17 little monkeys, and
What about a giant spoon
might have done a
to
giant
scoop
spoon,
up
but
a lot of sand?
maybe
for
he did
example.
made ice cream scoop. It was much more.
Ooh, vanilla.
So basically, Ganthet, who was the last of the Guardians, stumbled upon Kyle Rayner and just gave him a ring. There was no real rhyme or reason to it. As a matter of fact,
Did he accept?
Ganthet said, "You will have to do."
He said, "I do."
That is how you start out your comic superhero career with, you'll do.
That is a pretty crappy origin story.
Yeah.
That like there's nothing there.
Nope, it's just he happened to
Ron
be there.
Mars just phoning it in for a
Probably because
paycheck.
he had 5 minutes to write the script before it had to go to press.
Where was Kyle Rayner when he accepted the ring?
He was at the altar.
Okay.
think I might know.
He proposed at the altar.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, we've already planned the wedding. You're here and you're dressed up. Will you take this ring?
I think it was an alley or something.
Protect our
The
universe?
costume CGI, so you can just.
That's
But
true.
what Aaron was alluding to earlier was the most notorious bit of information was from this iteration of Green Lantern was he had a girlfriend when he started. A few issues in, he no longer had a girlfriend because I think it was Major Force decided to chop her up and shove her in a refrigerator for him.
Major
I
Force.
think it was Major Force.
Let me
I don't know if I
fact
have that
check it.
information.
We don't fact check anything here on the
No,
comic
we
shop.
don't, we
It
don't.
absolutely
Alex
was
DeWitt,
Major Force.
Major Force, yep.
Thank you.
And
You
so
just have to have confidence, Martin. That's the key.
that's what it is. Just commit to whatever I say.
Yes.
So the death of his girlfriend Alex made him
You've heard me talk to customers. I'll say anything.
anything.
Just,
He does.
I'm sorry.
The death of Alex basically led Kyle to like, I gotta take this seriously. He left L.A., went to New York City, dated various superhero and ladies, and had a great time. But the controversy is Gail Simone got her career started, a comic writer who's done quite a bit of stuff over the last 2 decades, because she wrote a blog about this, because this is a situation where you're taking a female character, the love interest basically of the hero, and doing something to them to make the hero better at the cost of.
What? No. So Gail Simone got her career started with this.
She was a
With-
hairdresser.
With this was it called the Women in Refrigerators
Yep.
post or something
Yep.
like that?
There's a blog, I believe.
It was a
wasn't
blog.
Yeah.
Women in refrigerators that basically dissected this trope in comics that was just so
We're gonna-
heightened by.
We're gonna sidebar a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. I love. Jonathan says we love Gail Simone. Love Gail Simone. I think she's such a great troll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you follow her.
No, not anymore.
She's. Oh, so you don't? You had a falling out with Gail?
Not directly, no. It just her and Ethan Van Sciver partnership together a few years way back.
Well, Ethan Van Sciver. Yeah, I can.
Really?
Yeah.
Unlike his brother Noah, I like his brother Noah, but
Are they really brothers?
no.
There's no way they're brothers.
I think Gail is great though. She is a good troll. She drops these super
She's
silly.
smart, yep.
She's very smart.
She's very quick.
very smart, and I just love the fact sometimes she'll mix it up with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe I don't see a ton of her stuff, so like it's maybe more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do see her stuff out there and she's dropping a couple zingers, I'm like, good for you. Go
No,
for
I
it.
did a big purge of comic creators in my social media a while back, just because oftentimes it kind of taints the enjoyment of their artwork to actually, or to their craft to read what they're saying.
And I'm sorry, Noah Van Sciver is Ethan's brother. That is a fact.
Oh,
Fact.
okay. I didn't know that.
So yeah, we got that. One of our new generation of heroes came out of the '90s.
Is he still around? Is he still doing stuff, Kyle?
Yeah.
I don't know any DC stuff currently.
Ion, messing up things. I haven't read anything with him in forever, so I don't know if they've actually done much.
He's just back at the altar.
Yeah,
Just waiting.
He's just waiting for Ganthet to return.
Gantha.
That's done.
Are we done? I
One-
love
one page gone.
Aaron and I show up having done zero research, and Martin's been here slaving away for hours trying to put this together.
Yep.
Just like Lucas would have done.
You know,
No, I didn't nap.
There's an appeal to the to that life. I figured just having lived through 1994, that was enough research.
Yeah. Did you live through it or did you just exist in it?
Like I said earlier, I think that's a different philosophical question that will take a lot of time to explore.
Yeah, I mean, I was 12 years old when all of this stuff was going on, and I had enough of a foundation in comics where I guess, yeah, it was fun to explore all of these things, especially how everything was booming and these big events. And I also remember for the first time possibly, and maybe this is Maximum Carnage was 1993,
I think it was a little bit
but
earlier.
like,
And Minimum Carnage was in 1994.
yes, which
Actually, it was much later. There was one.
Really?
There was, yeah. It was a miniseries. We probably have some issues sitting on the wall there. Yeah, it was.
We got to
in the
break that
2000s
out at
somewhere.
some point.
wow, didn't know that one.
Yeah.
But like, I remember being aware enough and well versed enough in comics that like this was all very exciting. But I also remember being like Death of Superman again, end of '93, beginning of '94, where it splits off in these 4 different books with 4 different personalities, and there's another Superman. Just going, this is a lot. Like for a kid to like, you know,
Yeah.
I've got $6 a week I can spend on comics right now. I have to pick and choose my. I guess this is back when maybe books were $1. But yeah, let's say, you know, I don't,
$25, yeah.
but you know, yeah, I didn't have more than $5 a week probably to spend on comics. So it's like you felt like you couldn't. Like I don't know how you followed X-Men. X-Men
Well,
was one of
yeah.
these books that like I never really got into because it was just too.
You had to Sophie's Choice it. You
Yep.
could either be an Uncanny guy or an X-Men guy.
Which
And-
always amazes me when like people do the whole one or the other for Uncanny or X-Men, especially at that time because they were so interconnected.
But the key thing about
I was
1990
Uncanny. What were you?
I think I was adjectiveless, and then until eventually, I don't know, I made enough money mowing lawns or whatever that I could get both. But the one that
Wolverine always had to come first.
the one that I did not miss was Wolverine, especially the 1994 era, because Adam Kubert is fully on there, doing the Bone Claw Wolverine. Some of the most impactful comics I think I ever read were in that run. Like looking back, they're not the best thing that's ever happened. But
the nostalgia glasses are.
but to me at the time, reading some of them, like I think it was Wolverine number 78, where he's like just out in the Canadian wilderness with like he encounters a wolf and then ends up using its pelt as like a cloak, and it's
I'm sure we have that book out there,
I'm,
right?
almost
Yeah, I
positive.
can see
I've
that
got a
book.
couple copies. I have a copy of it signed and remarked by Adam Kubert.
Oh, nice.
I convinced him to do a quick drawing for me when he came to RIT. Again, he wasn't set up to do remarks, but he took pity upon me and drew something.
Adam Kubert, son of Emma Kubert, and that's fact.
Fact. Don't check it. It's a fact.
Yikes.
So January ended up with a horrible tragedy happening with the Avengers West Coast canceled by Marvel at issue 102. I'm sure all those characters are in limbo somewhere and will never get another book again.
Avengers West Coast is a dumb concept. Why? Right?
I know West Coast Avengers was much better.
Was it?
Oh, can you explain that throwaway joke?
Oh, they changed the name?
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that joke. They changed the name at one point in time, so what they would line up
alphabetically. Yep.
Um,
Because it sold considerably less than its parent title Avengers, so they wanted that close to Avengers. So that whole I'm gonna buy this now thing.
you think that has to do with like again where we alphabetize the wall? You would think that like is that something where they want to see it next to an
Yeah.
Avengers book?
There was a time where there was a glut in previews of books that started with the letter A just for the same factor, or something that had an X in it because they wanted to buy the X-Men books because they're hoping to. So there is probably a psychology and sales marketing behind that. So we go from the tragedy of West Coast Avengers to the tragedy in Dick Tracy's life.
Yes. Dick Tracy.
What a segue, Martin. You're a professional.
I'm trying.
You're the new guy on the team, and you're a
I'm not the new guy.
professional.
I'm just a guest star.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Special.
Not a reoccurring guest star,
No, just a special guest star.
just a special guest star. Speaking of Dick Tracy, the famous comic strip newspaper comic strip detective. Did you know
I did.
in January of 1994, after 45 years of marriage, Dick Tracy and the love of his life, Tess, divorced. That's right, it's true. After 45 years of marriage,
We all remember Tess
remember.
fondly.
Tess Trueheart. How could you forget? And his wife, they split up. Tribune Media Services, which distributes the strip. Oh my gosh, has announced that Tess will hit her heroic husband with divorce papers on February 7th of 1994.
I can't believe you had that all in your head. And it wasn't read off of a piece of paper at all.
Oh, I'm definitely not reading. Apparently, Tess, like so many police spouses, is fed up with Dick's long hours and lack of consideration. In recent strips, Dick spent the evening saving a luscious-looking fashion designer from attack. When he came home after midnight, Tess had left him a note informing him that his dinner was in the freezer.
I mean, it sounds like he was being a dick. Thank you. Dick
That's
Tracy.
beautiful.
Dick Tracy, a comic strip I was never into. I feel like the movie from 1989, 1990
90.
just didn't have much appeal to me. But I also feel like Dick Tracy had such. I wish we had a Dick Tracy book. Such fun, weird looking rogues
Yep.
gallery with like silly names, that I can't remember at all, like Shoeface and
Ooh, I like
whatever.
Shoeface.
Lips Manlius.
Yeah.
The Prune Face.
Tiny Head Guy.
The Kyle Baker stuff is pretty cool looking. Kyle Baker did a short series
Did he?
of Dick Tracy.
I could see him being a good fit with Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
One of those strips that like feels, even back as a kid, felt very dated, obviously,
Dated,
because
yeah,
it's.
yeah.
I think it's supposed to be taking place in that like.
1940s.
Yeah, but I don't. Do they do anything with that property currently?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Aaron was looking into that, so.
I think the appeal of it is Chester Gould's artwork, though. Like it's very iconic. I think that's maybe why a movie version of Dick Tracy may not be as successful as the comic
They had the
strip.
cartoon that was really. I liked the cartoon.
Ooh, a cartoon.
I don't remember the cartoon.
When the movie came out, they started airing it like syndication stuff. I don't know any information about it at all. I just remember it being entertaining because it had that throwback feel, the wristwatch, radio, and all that stuff.
Some of the graphics for the movie were great. Like they're just the primary colors, and they broke out Warren Beatty and stuff like that. Some of the graphic design and stuff. Wow, that was pretty darn good. For that,
Also,
for
one
the
of
era.
Madonna's best performances.
Is Breathless Mahoney.
Tony, yep.
You know, the thing I remember about Dick Tracy the most, I don't think I ever saw the movie, even though it's free. I tried to get my in-laws to watch it with me one time when I was over. But I played the video game for Nintendo
Oh, okay, yeah, I do remember that.
quite a lot, where he had to drive around the car and do the different little missions.
I don't remember any of them.
You just hated Dick Tracy.
I did.
You
I
just said no to Dick Tracy.
I don't know if we owned it or if we just rented it from the corner store. If you, this is
whereas you
defi-
guys couldn't get enough Dick
We
Tracy.
loved the Dick Tracy. Tracy. Yep. Aaron's not approving of all
I
these
know.
jokes.
I'm sorry.
It's not
I'm sorry.
wholesome.
This is not. Yes.
It's not what I signed up for.
All right.
You
Well,
should have heard the conversations earlier.
We
Okay,
need to
so
go back over the contract.
all of our Captain America fans, we in February also had the start of the 12-part storyline, The Fighting Chance, where Captain America's super soldier serum, wow, that was just is breaking down.
so did you
and
get
we
this
got-
where he gets the armor?
Yeah, he gets the horrible armor. This is 90s at its best worst.
Cap has a lot of that.
But yeah, he does. He whatever era he's in, he
Yeah.
does.
At least he wasn't turning into a werewolf a year later.
No.
I have that in his glorious.
Because that would be 90. That would be 95 if we were going to talk about Cap being a werewolf, I believe.
Yeah, I think I have all those.
Such great stuff. Such great class.
The dumb things they do with characters, like again the Captain America werewolf thing, or Martin and I were talking about the Punisher, like all the terrible iterations of the Punisher, and like the
Frankencastle
Punisher's supposed to be a guy with a gun who's kind of crazy, but it's like they made him an angel, they made him a Frankenstein. He
Oh,
turned
what a
in-
waste of Bernie Wrightson.
he turned he turned into a cosmic Ghost Rider, and it's just like, no, Punisher's just supposed to be a guy with a gun with these gritty stories and like the more of a psychological mess. And but yeah, same thing with like Captain America. Like what the armor doesn't bother me too much because it's like, all right, there is a gimmick there where like the super serum, soldier serum wears off.
They were like, you know what? NFL Super Pro did great business for us.
Oh, it is an NFL Super Pro costume. Oh my gosh.
It really is.
So,
It really
so
is.
we're gonna bring that to our home USA hero guy. We're gonna put him in the NFL Super Pro costume.
But
I got
again,
so excited I switched to the
this
wrong camera when
storyline
you
is
said that.
is probably an answer to Batman's back being broken type situation where let's depower Cap and let's see what happens and
Just-
drag him through all this. And,
Instead of popping the balloon, we're just gonna open up the balloon and just let it go.
and again, this is what led Marvel eventually to have to throw these characters off to their image competitors to try and revitalize and make relevant because clearly they couldn't.
Mark Silvestri to Batman.
He is,
That's exciting.
yeah,
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah.
it is.
That's news
Yeah,
that's
He
coming
didn't do
up.
that in 1984.
No, not
No,
94.
he's been
He
working
should've.
on this for a
Would've
long
been
time
great.
though. It looks amazing. I'm a big Mark Silvestri fan. I like his work a lot.
Next,
Martin, let's plunge forward.
okay. Next up is we're gonna switch into what we're calling this, Evan?
Oh, canceled at 60.
Cancel the 60.
This is fascinating. Aaron, you're going to love this.
Within a few months of each other, three of Marvel's titles were all canceled at their 60th issue.
Aw.
Sensational She-Hulk, which we talked about last week, and then Mark Spector, Moon Knight, who he's also kind of very relevant right now with his show. And I'm losing all my pages, so here we go. And Quasar, everyone's favorite cosmic hero.
Who
Quasar,
could forget about Quasar?
who made it 60 issues.
Wow, I feel like that's quite a run for Quasar.
I think that's a fantastic run for Quasar. And I actually remember buying some Quasar comics. Why?
Was it Greg Capullo?
I have no
In
idea.
Infinity Gauntlet type crossovers. I don't know if they were at the time.
Infinity Gauntlet. Well, okay, because there was Infinity Gauntlet
Infinity
was,
stuff,
was
yeah,
like
but
90, but like there
yeah.
was a bunch of those after. Yeah, I don't know.
And what is Quasar's real name?
Who knows? Quentin
don't-
Czar.
Quentin?
No.
No, because that's
It
no,
is
no,
a-
no, no, I don't.
It
I don't
is a
wanna-
lousy name.
We're gonna see if Jonathan knows this because he said,
Oh.
"LOL." I was just talking with Quasar with my brother last week. I
All right, Jonathan. Who is? What's his
I
name?
Ooh.
got a free book. If you
Quentin
can-
would be an improvement. I just
Did you look it up?
Did you look it up?
yeah.
I have no idea. It is weird though that I do remember reading some Quasar books, and I don't know why I would pick that up. Because
But in 2012, he was ranked 36th on IGN's list of top 50 Avengers. So there's something. I'm trying to stall here.
36.
Yeah, the
gotta be a
character first
terrible
appeared
list.
as Marvel Boy in Captain America 217. He continued to make guest appearances in Captain America, Incredible Hulk, Marvel 2-in-1, and Avengers. He was revamped as Quasar by Mark Grunwald. He first appeared under this new name in Incredible Hulk 234.
Okay, so we have a name,
That's the part I knew.
Wendell. I have no idea. I have no idea. Doesn't even ring a bell.
Wendell Elvis Vaughn.
His middle name is Elvis.
Yep, he's a cosmic hero and an everyman.
Elvis.
Yep, he received his self-titled
I
series.
need a moment to process that.
Elvis.
That
Wendell
Wendell
Elvis.
Elvis Vaughn.
It sounds like a name I would have come up with for like a character's alter ego. When I
yeah,
was a
this
child.
is an Aaron Lee like goofy.
But like before I had like kind of like bubbling subconscious, just weirdo names that flow. This would have just been me like trying to figure out the mechanics of making a name and a character. His name will be Wendell Elvis Vaughn. It's like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Just get 3 names in there.
The title crossed over with Infinity Gauntlet, Operation Galactic Storm, and Infinity War. So yeah, that's,
Operation Galactic Storm. That's I definitely read that crossover. That's probably.
me too. Recently in a trade paperback.
Is it any good?
It was actually kind of fun going across all of it. Yeah.
Do we have a copy of that?
Is that like a
we
take?
might. If not, I do. I can bring
If
it
not,
in.
could I borrow it?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
Okay.
like a take on Desert Storm?
That was That's where they got the fun name from.
So handy.
Let's go back to Punisher. Remember when Punisher fought in Desert Storm?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I thought it was a Vietnam War.
He fought in all of them.
All
actually.
the wars. He
He's
goes
a
back in
fictional
time. Goes to
character.
World War II.
I just remember Punisher.
Punisher in the American Revolutionary War.
He was actually a nurse in Civil War.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then he turned into an angel.
Oh, okay. I like this pitch. Marvel, are you listening?
So do we all know what Starbrand is?
Yes.
New universe. Was it? It was meant to be like a title character. I know John Romita Jr. left X-Men,
To the
Daredevil.
something.
He left.
Yeah.
He left something that he was doing well on to go to Jim Shooter's.
Yeah, this is Jim
Starbrand.
Shooter, the head of Marvel at the time's big project, and it was a whole new universe. This is completely separate from the Marvel universe. It was they basically designed. They wanted to have two complete universes going at the same time.
Did you say nude universe?
Nude
universe.
no clothes at all. Much
Do you remember
like,
the Do you remember the Nude Universe Dick Tracy crossover?
Do I ever? That's up in the memories. There's a joke I stopped doing there, everybody.
Thank you.
So this was supposed to be a big thing. Behind the scenes, Marvel Corporate didn't want it, defunded most of it, but it made a big splash, and Starbrand was one of the characters. And they ended up, after the failure of that, bringing the Starbrand into the Marvel Universe, which they then used as a last-ditch effort to try and save Quasar from its plummeting sales. In an event called Star Blast, which crossed over with like Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer,
Star
Blast in the-
Wow!
in the
as I was reading it, I'm like,
Star
okay.
Blast in the Nude Universe. That's
But when I briefly looked at some sales figures, it didn't help blast Quasar up the sales chart.
I'm
And
glad it was up the sales chart, not something else. We're gonna have Aaron's gonna walk off the podcast for the first time. I'm sorry, Aaron.
And
Oh, my
then
goodness.
there's Mark Spector, who they just killed him off. But yeah, this series started. The Mark Spector series was moving right along. That basically was written by Chuck Dixon, who
Okay.
did a lot of Punisher stuff and has the last name Dixon.
Thank you.
So Evan's just laughing over there like a little 12-year-old.
Well, this is on brand. This is 1994. I'm 12 years old.
You're
Okay.
12 years old. That's right. And yeah,
Sorry, Aaron.
yep, things happened, and then it got canceled by them killing him
Things
off.
happen.
Written by Terry Kavanagh. I don't know. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
Terry Kavanagh at all?
Yes.
He did a lot. He did some X-Men stuff, X-Force, X-Man. He also wrote
Did he
the
do any Spider-Man?
Punisher series that took place during Onslaught.
I feel like that name was around a ton. I don't know if I
Yeah.
read a ton of his stuff.
Yeah, I know that it's a familiar name, but I don't know his catalog that
Yeah,
well.
he was the final writer on it, and the final artist on it, I guess, was Stephen Platt. Do we know him at all?
Splat.
Didn't he do some stuff for profit?
You did.
Image Comics
Drew a lot of
hired him
showcases.
based on the strength of the artwork on his final issues.
My favorite Stephen Platt memory. Oh, and that's just 94. Maybe it's 93. I don't know. Although you said it was canceled in 94.
Yep.
So he must have gone over to Prophet right after that. But they had a Wizard. I remember reading this in 7th grade in study hall. A Wizard magazine with a Stephen Platt Prophet cover, and the contest was count the bullet casings on the cover.
Oh,
and then
yes.
send it. And I remember sitting in study hall counting the bullet casings because that's what you do in schools. It was such a goofy, and it was so hyper detailed, and like he was like the next big thing. But I feel like Stephen Platt only had like, I'm sorry, I'm boring you. I feel like Stephen Platt only had like 2 years maybe where he was like the next big thing, and like he still does stuff. But he kind of
Does he really?
Look it up. Fact checked him. Come on.
Oh, he absolutely does things. I'm just not going to share with you what books
He
those
like
are.
walks
It's
his
a
dog and has a family.
Stephen Platt, he was sick. He had a very fun style.
Well, he was like the biggest thing in comics for like a moment.
For like 5 minutes.
So we had the tragic start of February with Dick Tracy getting divorced, and then March kicks off with Scott Summers and Jean Grey getting married.
I remember this being a big deal. I think I had 2 copies of this book.
That's interesting.
No uncanny that month.
I didn't realize
No.
they got married so late. I don't know why I always feel like they got married in like the 80s, but like
Nope, that was Peter
She-
Parker and
She kind of died in
Mary
the
Jane
80s.
Watson. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get married to a corpse.
um
Well, technically, wait, was he married to Madeline?
I don't know if he ever married her.
So maybe you're thinking about the clone that he got pregnant and had a child with that got sent
I
to
mean,
the future
It
after
really
giving a
made
technical-
Cyclops do some bad stuff. They really made him not a likable character in the.
Yeah, and I thought he was
80s.
supposed to be like the moral compass kind of guy.
Yeah, well, when your dead girlfriend comes back, you ditch the clone and make her go
Mm-hmm.
crazy and, become the Goblin Queen or whatever it was she was. Is that what it
It was
was?
for Inferno.
Yes,
Yes,
Inferno.
get lots of that great Mark Silvestri, Dan Green art though at that time.
Definitely.
You can't knock that stuff. I mean, I don't know about the story, but looks great.
Marching forward.
Into March,
We're in March. Nothing else really happened in March.
not a thing.
Well, that's when Moon Knight got canceled, but we're not going back there. April, not much there.
Wendell Elvis Vaughn, aka Quasar. Is he above Machine Man on the list of Avengers? I bet he is.
He probably is. You could look it up. It
Why
was
would they do
IGN.
that? I was listening to the Observations podcast, and he did one about maybe this is a lead in about Jack Kirby. And he mentioned really liking the inventiveness of Machine Man and the double page splashes that were in Jack Kirby's Machine Man comics.
Hey, we're going to circle back to February actually, because
Yeah,
in my
'cause
mind,
For some reason, that did not. Yeah.
in my mind, I got goofed up. I was thinking April for some reason, but I think it was in a lot of what I was looking for earlier. Martin was
yes.
April issues of Marvel, DC, and Image stuff from 1994, because I believe that's when all the obituaries for Jack Kirby were printed. So I think in my mind, the stream got crossed, and I was thinking he died in April instead of February. But Jack Kirby, I'm going to talk about Jack Kirby for a little bit. Actually, I'm just going to read something too. This is Stan's memorial to him. Jack Kirby is no longer with us. Though the man is gone, his memory and incredible body of work live on. His incredible body. Much has been said and written about his talent and seeing miracles that he could perform on a sheet of illustration board with nothing more than a simple pencil and his own God-given genius. But there's one more thing that must be mentioned. Jack was more than a brilliant artist. He performed on other functions that will entirely enshrine him in the hearts of those who followed. He worked and served the quintessential model for virtually every artist who aspired to draw comics. He was the ultimate template for how a suspenseful, thrill-packed story should be presented. Whenever a problem arose in which he had to do perspective, composition, or anatomy, foreshortening, posture, or costuming, Jack's own panels were the inevitable point of reference. So when Jack Kirby died, again, I was 12 years old, and I had never seen this before in comics, where every publisher published a eulogy or a memorial to Jack Kirby, and all the image creators in specific had just this flowery praise. And I didn't know who Jack Kirby really was. I feel like it was a name that I was aware of, that I knew he was very influential to like the beginning of the Marvel Universe and Fantastic Four and things like that. But I just couldn't believe how everybody in the industry seemed to love him. Maybe all the professionals in the industry seemed to love him. The industry itself kind of treated him like a doormat, which is too bad. But I just remember after this, seeing all this stuff, I actively sought out reprints of the old Fantastic Four, because I'm like, I just need to figure out what's here that's touching every artist, every creator in the comics community. And I see his style in a lot of the people that I like, the Walter Simonsons, I don't know if you know, I like Eric Larson. Shout out to Peter Melnick, by the way,
Yeah, I saw you.
who apparently interviewed Eric yesterday and then dropped my name, which we're going to talk about that out, because I feel like that's a little bit of a wild one. But I think Jack Kirby just defined the way American comics look.
Certainly the dynamics.
Yep.
Yeah, and he did it in this weird, wonky way that was just like full of this energy, and I think that's what I love about that style of art is that, like, his perspective. It's not that great, Aaron.
It's not.
It's not that great.
Why are you saying that to me?
Well, I know because that's what you're thinking. I was just his perspective's not that great.
Put me on the record. Jack Kirby, not that great.
No, but
Let's get that out there. No, I'm just kidding.
his anatomy was very wonky. He did all sorts of like Stanley even kind of says, what do we say here? Perspective, composition, anatomy, foreshortening, posturing, or costuming. Everything he did was kind of weird, but man, that worked for me. It really, his bizarro costumes and these dynamic poses and this slightly warping world of which everything is kind of there, but kind of it's. I get it. I get it because
he took what was before and he reshaped it and worked it for a more, at the time, modern look. He brought more. It's more art. It's more artwork than it was before. It's not like just your standard, Superman drawing that you saw a million times.
I like though that he wasn't confined by the rules, and I think that that's what made it interesting. That like his anatomy didn't have to be super tight. His perspective didn't have to be perfect. The foreshortening in costume, like it was, he could just create a very visually compelling medium or book.
Much more expressive.
Jonathan mentions the Fourth World was so trippy. It's a little psychedelic too.
A lot of his stuff is.
Yeah, like, and it just psychedelia doesn't interest me, but man, there's just something beautiful to.
And he wasn't like young, like college kid at the time. Or
he was 40.
Yeah.
Martin, he was 44 when he created the Fantastic Four. 44 when he took off.
It makes you wonder, like, if he'd been 45, would they have been the Fantastic Five? Or if he'd been 43, would they have been?
You're gonna have to bring it a lot harder than that if you want us not to do the Dixon jokes.
Nude universe.
From Jim Shooter.
But yeah, and you mentioned the Image guys giving the what they were saying.
Yeah,
that you couldn't find.
the eulogy,
and
whatever.
when I briefly looked to see if I could find something for you, it's something that these guys do often. Is they basically sing the praises of Jack Kirby. So it wasn't just lip service for them back then. They actually were huge fans of his work, and
they gave him a bone at the end of his career too with Phantom Force.
So, yeah.
Yeah, where all the many Image founders inked individual pages, which the end results are fascinating, but maybe not always 100% successful as a story or artwork per se.
Yeah,
like Todd McFarlane inking a Kirby page is just
because McFarlane doesn't come from the
interesting.
Kirby lineage. I feel like I don't know what McFarlane's.
Well, he's so noodly, and Jack Kirby really benefits from a strong like black line, like a strong bold black line.
and that's my style of drawing. Is like I want a strong, like even though it takes some of the squiggles out of it, and gives you the harder edges. I like that. I don't know. It's just
it communicates better because the less visual information you have, the less your brain has to process. So if you can condense it down to just the bare essentials, it's much easier to communicate. Which is why people like Darwin Cook is so impactful. I mean, certainly really influenced by Jack Kirby. Bruce Timm, another person who can reduce figures down to their essence. Another huge Jack Kirby fan.
The Powers guy.
Michael Avon Omen.
yes.
Who on Facebook?
I would have screwed that up too. I think I would have.
Yep, I wasn't even gonna try it.
I think I said it right.
No, you
did.
did. I would have
wasn't-
mixed up. I
yep.
would have got all three names, but I would have.
He commented on a page of Wesley the Robot and said he wanted it on his wall on the Facebook. So
No, so he's not doing well right now.
He needed to patch a hole.
I said I commented back. I said I can make this happen, but he didn't follow up.
That's cool though. That's awesome.
We touched a little bit on 0 Hour, which came out in August, and that was we're gonna do a fake fact check. 0 Hour is basically trying to do that semi-annual DC thing where they try and fix their convoluted continuity.
And then they just make it worse.
Did they ever make it work?
No, never once. And so there was a big mystery involved with this, and it got spoiled. People guessed the ending too quickly, so they shifted it and made for a really less interesting story, which is always what happens when you try to outdo the audience. But so that was their trying to fix up the little mistakes that were made in Crisis on Infinite Earths way back in the day, which then all the other crises we've had since then. So it was the first sequel to the never-ending infinite cycle of crises.
Hey, holy cow!
Is that Wizard Magazine?
Yeah,
And did you find what you were looking for in Wizard Magazine?
I've been looking for this all day. We'll throw that on the document cam.
The
there.
Wizard.
But
off to see the wizard.
They're honoring again. Everybody was honoring Jack Kirby. His life enriched us. His legacy sustains us. Few gifts are as precious. Here's to you, Jack. You will be missed.
Truer words could not be said of DC Comics that Jack Kirby's legacy sustains them. I mean, their whole universe is built on the Fourth World stuff, right? Pretty much. Like, if they need villains or like kind of a cosmic opera type thing,
Just wheel out Darkseid.
yes, and all that goes along with that.
Well, let's keep on the subject of death.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Death and Dicks today on the Comic Shop for the podcast.
See what you're missing, Jonathan. You should be here. Incredible Hulk 420 hit in August of 1994. It was entitled "Lest Darkness Come" by Peter David, Gary Frank, Cam Smith, and in it a semi long-running side character in the Incredible Hulk series, Jim Wilson, dies of AIDS. This was extremely controversial at the time because just the subject of AIDS being put into a comic that was code approved, the fact that they were dealing with real world problems like the AIDS epidemic, really. When you think of the 90s, you don't think of hard-hitting issues and topics being handled, and it was handled quite well in this. Basically, it brought awareness to something that needed it, and it's just interesting to see how Peter David, who's known for his comedy, his lighthearted, more action stuff, was able to bring this into the forefront.
Peter David's intelligent enough, even though I'm not crazy about him at times. He's an intelligent enough man that he could do that justice, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was just 2 months earlier, or 3 months earlier, he had the bachelor party for
Rick Jones.
Yep.
I think I've got that issue.
Do we have a copy of that anywhere?
That one I don't know. I think we have
Do you
the
have a-
wedding
do you have a
issue.
copy?
I have a copy of it. Yeah.
Wedding issue, I think we have. But do you know what that goes for?
No idea.
Okay, I don't either.
No idea. Anybody know? It goes for
But,
$57.
Did,
57.
fact check.
Yep.
did Dale Keown do that one, or was that a different?
I think it was Gary Frank.
Gary
I
Frank.
think it was
I think it was
Gary
him
At
and
that
Cam
point.
Smith was the.
Yeah.
I think Gary Frank was the Hulk artist that, like, when I actually started picking up Hulk, like
Yep,
from
Cam Smith.
from wherever. It
That's
was
same
it was
thing.
that one.
Not that I read a ton of Hulk, but like I feel
Yep.
like I remember like we've talked about this before, like the Pantheon stuff.
Yep.
Which I'm pretty sure was drawn by him.
There's some really good looking stuff. I don't know who the penciler was, but whenever they had Mark Farmer on as the inker on Incredible Hulk, like I have a he fought man thing in one issue. That is a sharp looking issue. Like Mark Farmer, he's got to be like the sharpest inker in comics. Like he just refines things in such a way.
Is it bad? I don't know who that is.
You would recognize.
Yeah,
Yeah?
he
You
worked.
saw it,
He
yeah.
worked with Alan Davis. He
Yep,
worked
that's
with
what
Adam
I said.
Kubert, and he's worked with tons and tons of people. But
Was he Excalibur or no?
probably if Alan Davis was there. But like if you look up Mark Farmer's inks on Adam Kubert, like those things just sing. Like I already like Adam Kubert, but without Mark Farmer, I don't know if it reaches those peaks like what I always remember from that era.
Martin, where are we? What month are we in?
Let's move on to September.
Good, because
Where
we're
the Phalanx Covenant comes into play for
Oh, wow.
the X titles.
I was there.
Come on,
I
we're
was
all
there
we're all
too.
picturing the covers now,
Yep,
right in our
yep,
heads. We got
yep.
the
Hologram.
that little foil Phalanx thing.
I don't remember
Bought
that.
them here.
I absolutely have those books, but I don't remember that
The
story,
story
at
at
all.
all?
No.
Leading into Generation X.
Yes.
That was one of the events where like the impact of it actually made sense and followed through in a way. Like you don't remember what happened to them exactly,
I
but
don't remember.
but
anything.
essentially,
Uh-oh.
it was,
I thought Aaron was going to walk off the podcast. Martin has
I
walked
walked
off.
off the podcast
Martin
for
has
a
walked off
problem.
well,
the
he's
podcast.
a special guest, so he's
Yeah,
allowed
I'm like-
certain treatment. But they basically assemble a lot of these younger mutants to be the team. Well, they're also fighting off this alien force that is the Phalanx Covenant, which is it tied in with the Legacy virus, tied in with Warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you remember Warlock being like an integral part of it. And what was the Legacy virus?
It was like the AIDS virus,
Yeah.
but for mutants.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was kind of their way around the controversy because of marginalized population mutants and then the disease that's claiming them one by one. So
Okay.
And then spreading out to the human population.
yeah, so an interesting thing. I don't know how well it was actually executed, but like in retrospect, I applaud them for trying
Yeah.
that. I think that was a noble endeavor.
In October.
You're just gonna hide your prop and not acknowledge that at all?
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming
Okay,
up.
all right.
Daniel Clowes, The Sensual Santa is pre-published in 8-Ball. Does anyone know what that sentence means?
The
'Cause I
sensual
don't.
Santa.
Yeah.
Published in 8-Ball.
Pre-published in 8-Ball.
I got Teresa the collected 8-Ball, but I haven't read through all of them.
You're the Dan Clowes guy. I don't.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't,
not-
I don't
uh,
know this one.
I don't recognize that.
Give me some indie comics here. Come on.
Indie comics.
Yeah.
Like Pete Baggs' Hate. Bean World by Larry Martyr.
Are you just listing random?
No, this was our shout out to our sister podcast. My one little independent thing.
Oh,
that
give me
managed to
indie
work it in
comics?
here.
Well, yeah, what's the name of that again?
The
Sensual
Sensual
Santa?
Santa.
I don't know.
I only read superheroes, so.
Okay.
I mean,
Speaking of the ultimate moment of the 90s, the Clone Saga begins over in Spider-Man, where Aaron and I will. This will be a much longer podcast. We're going to do a pro and con with me and Aaron. But I do have a
you're
prop
gonna
for
make me
Aaron. I
read it?
mentioned something to him, and I just happened to find this
oh
yesterday.
no.
So here is.
So we're gonna do it
doing-
face down. We'll do a reveal on the camera. Drum roll.
So we can flip and. Oh wow!
Gotta tilt it up there a little bit so
Yeah.
we can see.
101 ways to end the Clone Saga.
I don't know what this is either. Martin showed me this
So-
earlier today, and
Can
I was
open
like,
this up?
Go right ahead. So basically, the Clone Saga was this big thing Marvel did. It was supposed to be a very short thing. It wasn't supposed to be an epic saga. But it sold so tremendously well to start that Marvel's like, keep printing the money with this. It went through 407 creative teams across all these books. Nobody from the original story was left by the end of it.
407 is the exact number of creative teams
I
too.
fact checked it myself, personally, by myself.
I like the art in this.
I think there are too. Who's drawing this?
Ben Herrera.
Okay.
And it just got so out of hand, and they had no idea how to end this story that they had just completely made up as it went along. There's a great blog called Life of Riley, if you want to read through, with someone behind the scenes who went through and described everything as it was happening. But so there was a joke around the bullpen where someone would get like, $500 if they could find a way to end this. And Marvel, never wanting to not make some money, decided to put together this 101 ways to end the Clone Saga. So it's all the different possible ways they could have ended it. It is a complete for fun book.
This is a really nice looking book, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I was not
it's printed on
expecting
the newsprint.
Yeah, I was not expecting this to be as fun as I just figured it was going to be a really hacky.
Is it one creative team across the whole thing?
I believe so.
It looks pretty
Ben
consistent.
Herrera and Mark Bernardo
Yeah.
doing the writing
not know
and,
them.
and art here. This is an interesting era. This must have been. Is this like 97 from like this three-dimensional logo? No, it's 90. This is
95?
January
96?
97.
97?
96, 97.
Yeah.
Like when I don't know if it was for money purposes, but they moved away from the glossy paper stock on nearly everything.
Probably, as things were getting crazy.
Yeah.
But also there's kind of a weird result of that is that it looks good on the newsprint with the digital printing, much more capability than what they were doing on newsprint before.
And related to the craziness of those logos and things like that they did, in November, Marvel abolishes the position of editor-in-chief, replacing Tom DeFalco with 5 group editor-in-chiefs. So,
Because that's not going to cause problems.
so there was the
That is such a weird move. We've talked about this before, that you're getting rid of the creative, the higher power, and now all of a sudden you're distributing power to 5 people who are going to just vie for characters and work to. You're got everybody working in like a
compete against each
silo.
other?
Yeah, it's
Bob
weird.
Harris had the X-Men titles. Bob Budiansky had the Spider-Man titles.
Isn't it
I have no idea.
Budiansky?
That what?
Bob Budiansky, right?
Whatever. We don't care. Marvel
hilarious.
Universe is Mark Grunwald, and
Yeah, Mark.
the newly created Marvel Edge was Bobby Chase, and licensed was Carl Potts. It failed miserably. I'm not sure how long it actually ended up lasting, but it caused all the problems that you could imagine would happen behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
that just
with-
seems like a really dumb idea. I don't know what the. Yeah.
Also November, for another future podcast, is Marvel purchases Malibu Comics. Malibu Comics was a small-time public. Well, it's small time. It wasn't a major player. Oh, it wasn't set out to be a major player, but it's
I like how I just put the camera on me to go, and then went.
I don't think it was like a huge player in itself. It had a superhero world and things like that. But what really made it stand out was it almost was the home of Image. And it also...
Sorry.
Dick. It was also home to a color
Yes.
separation system that apparently made it worthwhile for Marvel to buy.
That's a fascinating one that we're going to get into on
Yep, it
another
wasn't after the
podcast.
characters. It wasn't after the properties. It wanted this software, I'm going to guess, with system.
We're gonna dig into that deeper one of
But
these
that's one
days.
of the things we do
Couldn't
want
they,
to talk
they have
about.
just bought the software and the hardware and hired the artists? They didn't have to buy all of Malibu, did they?
It was the 90s, and they had money to burn.
Well, they
Went back.
didn't. They were going to lose that money
Yep.
shortly.
Mhm.
But
So that's a topic for later. But yeah, it's really interesting that just why these characters that Marvel has the license to, they just let go. They have some prime real estate there.
With the Prime and
Oh, yeah.
Ultra Force.
Ultra Force.
Wasn't there like a ghoulish type character?
There was a ton of them now.
Crypt? No, not Crypt.
Is there a sludge or a?
there was a sludge.
Yeah,
Yeah. They had a cartoon
was-
of Ultra Force. Do you remember this?
they did.
What was the only Freaks was their X-Men book, and that was actually really good. That was maybe 18 issues, and it was a very well done ripoff of the X-Men.
There were some very adequate books that they did do. There were which nobody knows anymore because they've been dormant since 1995, 96, somewhere in there.
96,
Has
97
Prime come
maybe.
back ever? I feel like if
I
they...
don't think so.
No?
It might have.
I have a couple of those, like the covers that are just the black covers that I picked up super cheap. And they're not great on the inside, but they're not terrible either. But it was when like Marvel bought them, and then I think they had to publish them in order to maintain the copyright.
Yep.
But I don't think they really care about the copyright because they haven't been published. But maybe they just
Well,
never-
interesting. Like, what's the cross-gen thing?
Cross-gen?
Oh,
The
yeah. Marvel has cross-gen properties because Disney bought them. Several years ago, they did a Ruse, a Mystic, and maybe one other one where they published a miniseries for them. And then they've left them alone since. They're going to be releasing a trade paperback with some of the stories from the cross-gen years just to maintain that copyright. So I think there has to be some kind of weird usage.
Yeah, I don't quite get that one at all. But
We will, yeah, I think it's like in October, November. That's coming out. Speaking of November, let's move to December.
hey,
X-Men 41 is released. It is the prologue to the Age of Apocalypse with, spoiler alert, Legion murdering Professor X. So this
Age of
obviously this is something we're
Apocalypse.
this is up Aaron and my wheelhouse, definitely the whole Age of Apocalypse thing. So we will definitely be talking about that in the future as
yeah,
well.
I'd like to do that as well. I haven't read Age of Apocalypse in forever.
But basically, the X-Men line is going to be completely wiped out and replaced by slightly alternate titles. Lots of fun, some great art, and
What a great way to get some hype on in there too, like Wizard Magazine putting in
Yep.
Marvel cancels all X-Men
Yep.
titles.
they played it off as that too.
Yeah.
Like this is what we're getting now.
Was that really how they played it?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
That's
yeah. Bob
great.
Harris
They're like-
really played that hard. Yeah,
Like rocked the.
because they wanted all the controversy, all the attention. They wanted the Clone Saga money.
I remember looking at the preview images in it must have been Wizard or maybe Marvel Age,
Yeah.
and had Wolverine with just one hand. And I remember being like upset about it on the bus. I was like,
You were
they,
raging in the bus.
they got rid of like he. How can he lose his hand? They regenerate. Like that doesn't make any. And he doesn't have it. It was. I was very upset about it at the time. Now it's just very silly.
Now, some more sadness. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, was canceled with issue 155. Again, a sign of the times, and just what was to come in the next year or so. And finally, Marvel Comics purchases distributor Heroes World Distribution.
Dun, dun,
This is one of
dun.
the worst things to happen behind the scenes, not comic related, in the comic industry. it basically set it up for Diamond to get its monopoly that it held on to for
Up until
up
2
until
years
2
ago.
years ago.
Like 20 years. 30
Because
years.
Marvel had an exclusive distributor, and then this at the time there were probably about 50 or 60 distributors. I would go with that's fact check. That's probably more like 12. And
No, it was
slowly
50.
There was quite a few. And they slowly just could not handle not having this Marvel content, the weird shipping that had to go with it, vying for different deals from other companies, and one by one, Diamond bought them till they had all of them except for Heroes World, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Heroes World, which crumbled on its own because it just couldn't handle the demands for putting out the Marvel product exclusively for Marvel. But yeah, so that had a very huge resounding effect that it still was affecting us up until. Well, no, it still affects us. I think
still affects
us.
Yeah, 'cause we have
essentially-
3 distributors now.
It
so-
essentially killed the way of life for a lot of independent comics artists.
Oh yeah, because there was the minimums you had to meet for sales, and even at a low number, it was a lot for a small company to actually a small independent publisher to try and get their stuff out there.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even some of the performing indie stuff like had difficulty being carried by some of these systems too. Like I don't know if Cerebus was still going on, but like a lot of those like seminal indie things like that are long running. I know they had some difficulty in there. Like without those distributors, we don't get Ninja Turtles. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the stuff from the '80s, the black and white comics, all that stuff. Yeah.
But without having like the proving ground or the experimental part of medium, then you don't get the next big thing. So they just essentially
Until the internet comes along.
correct. But that's not that has nothing to do with like the
Yeah.
distribution physical until it does.
Yeah.
But it just grows in a different mutant way. I guess when you have this mutant comic industry and you like chop off a limb, it's gonna like grow another mutated limb, and that was the internet.
Internet.
Ba-da-ba.
Are we good?
I think so.
Do you want to talk any of your movie stuff or anything real quick, or are we just
Movie.
No,
I haven't watched
Here.
the new She-Hulk yet. Oh, my movie stuff. But of course. It's all coming back to me now.
I'll come back to you.
You know what?
Case
The-
Leon. Celine Dion.
yeah, and I killed that guy in the
It's
motorcycle.
all coming back, all
there
coming
we go, we
back
just got in
to
trouble.
me now.
We don't want to. We don't want to get.
We don't want to get a DACA, right?
capped or whatever. Number 1 film.
I wish
The
I knew
Lion
the
King.
lyrics.
Number 2 film. Forrest Gump. Number 3 film. True Lies.
Number 4 was The Mask. The
Number
Mask
4.
did that well.
It
The Mask.
did. It's never
Oh,
done well
yeah.
as a comic, but it's done well as a movie.
I enjoyed. Might have been Volume 2. I think I scooped it up from here. It was, entertaining. Very, very violent. Very different from the movie. Speed. Number 5.
One of the greatest movies ever.
Yes. The Flintstones. Number 6. Wow.
Not one of the greatest movies ever.
You stole my joke. I was going to
Oh,
say
sorry,
I was going to say
sorry.
one of the greatest movies ever.
With Kyle MacLachlan and Halle Berry in that. Dumb and Dumber. Number 7. Wow. Jim Carrey.
Jim
is
Carrey,
just-
what a good year for him.
Whew. Yeah. 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Andy McDowell, all right.
Yeah, and she's still around and still looks exactly the same.
Basically, yeah.
Like I don't think she's human. I think she's immortal. Interview with the vampire. I was gonna say a vampire, but
Yeah,
it's the
the
vampire.
vampire.
In this timeline, it is the vampire, right?
The vampire, not a vampire, because it could just be any old vampire.
Not them vampires.
Yes, interview with them vampires.
With those vampires.
It's a very different film. It's in the South. Clear and Present Danger. Paramount. Harrison Ford getting his check cashed in there too. Would you like me to recall any more information?
Sure, go right ahead.
Oh, in February 15th of that year, 1994, Viacom acquired 50.1% of Paramount Communications for $9.75 billion following a 5-month battle with QVC.
QVC almost owns
QVC,
Star Trek.
That's weird.
Weird. I mean, you could have the commemorative decorative plates of Gene
I had
Roddenberry.
those too, so.
Yeah, it seems like a natural fit, actually, now that we put that. Steven Spielberg
Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg wins his first Academy Award for the Best Director for Schindler.
No, that's
What?
Steven Spielberg was Schindler.
How drunk are you, Aaron? Come on. Reading is fundamental, buddy.
I had to go back into the school building today. It's not been an easy day. Schindler's List.
Otherwise known as Schindler's List.
Yes. Gone with the Wind becomes the first movie to ever air on the cable channel Turner Classic Movies. Pierce Brosnan is announced as the 5th actor to play James Bond.
Do we like him as a Bond?
007. Pierce Brosnan, yeah.
I like him as a Bond.
I like him as a Bond. It's when I
Goldfinger, come on.
started paying attention to Bond because I think they had Timothy Dalton,
yeah.
in between, and then there was like another person too.
That guy sucked.
Yeah.
Those didn't like jump out at me that much, but when
Sean Connery was his name.
when Pierce Brosnan jumped in there, I did notice that mostly on the giant TVs because anytime you ever walk to
Oh,
a
yeah,
department store, they're
yep.
always blasting a new James Bond thing on every giant TV they had in there.
The Sean Connery Barbara Walters interview where he talks about hitting women popped up
Oh,
in my
God.
feed the other day, which I guess questioned what I've been Googling. But that's so bizarre. That you remember that?
I do,
Oh
vaguely,
my gosh,
especially now you're
that's
saying it.
ooh, that's weird.
Speaking,
Oh, no.
oh god, Val Kilmer is officially announced as the next actor to portray Batman following the abrupt departure of Michael Keaton.
Holy bat nipples.
And Michael Keaton made the right call.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yep. Forrest Gump is released and becomes Paramount Pictures' highest-grossing film of all time.
It probably still is.
Yeah, I know. My wife loves Forrest Gump. That may be one of her favorite movies, if not her favorite movie.
Good thing she's listening.
Well, I don't know if she is or not.
She's not.
Oh, top 10 television. It's all coming back to me now again too. I'm just channeling Celine Dion right now. Number 1, Seinfeld.
Which inspired our graphic for the week.
Oh,
Blew my whole what did I say? My whole production budget on producing that image.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin.
No problem.
number 2, ER. Number 3, Home Improvement. I did not realize
JTT.
how popular Home Improvement.
People love their Tim Allen.
Somebody sent me. I think it was my wife because she's the only one who sends me anything.
Wah, wah.
But sent me the huh sound, but doing Somebody Once Told Me by Smash Mouth. It's wild. It's wild. Grace Under Fire. Never watched this show.
I mean, I remember the name, but I don't remember.
It's always great when your female-led TV show has a sexual harassment problem, and it's with her and the teenaged
What?
kid. They recast her son. She had a substance abuse problem at the time. Probably still
Yikes.
does, but
Monday Night Football.
always.
Number 5. 60 Minutes. Now there's a show I can get behind.
Because you're old.
That's right.
I like 60 Minutes.
You're old too.
I also like. It would even be better if it's 20 minutes. Isn't that what the other show is?
What?
The other there's another show. It's about crime and stuff.
It's called 20 Minutes. I don't think.
You just name your show after the increment of time that it follows. 10
Aaron might
minutes.
have just gotten the fact check award of the
I know,
night.
we have to fact check that.
20 minutes. It's my favorite show on the air. NYPD Blue. They're on bikes, right? Bike cops.
Nope. They're just showing their
They're
butts.
they're
Showing
on
butts.
Everyone's just showing their butts.
they're on bikes. They're on bikes. Don't fact check
A fun butt fact here. I think Gordon Clapp was the only cast member who didn't get to show his butt because of Janet Jackson. After her wardrobe malfunction, they edited his out of the upcoming episode.
You're saying words, but I don't know what they mean.
That's fine, I do.
Murder, She Wrote. That was still on the air in '94.
Yeah, I think it made it to 96.
Whoa!
Shout out to my sister's arch enemy, Angela Lansbury, who chastised her in an interview one time.
Oh, I can't believe I have to side with Angela Lansbury over your sister.
She had, I forget, it was like some kind of like, she used to do something for this like press agency, like online media, whatever. And they were doing like a bunch of like interviews with you hop from interview with celebrity to celebrity. And for whatever reason, she was interviewing Angela Lansbury for something. And Angela Lansbury yelled at her that this is the most unprofessional interview I've ever done. Which my sister's super professional. So screw you, Angela.
Did she ask like a question like, "What was it like being a teapot?"
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I think it had something to do with the set and the lighting or something. But then she just took it out on my sister. So screw you, Angela. All right.
Number 9, Friends. I never thought Friends was funny ever.
Never watched Friends.
I'm glad we agree on this. Martin?
I'm fine with it.
You don't have good taste.
I have
Well,
great
10,
taste.
Roseanne.
Who?
Roseanne.
Who?
The Connors.
Okay, I know that show.
Roseanne was only funny because Norm Macdonald was one of the writers.
Oh, really?
For like what, 5 minutes? Because like, didn't she like eat all the writers alive
I don't-
every week?
She always had a good relationship with Norm, so I don't know. Maybe there was a falling out, but I think that if there was a falling out, it didn't last long because I think
Let's go with this. There was a falling out, and
That's why Norm died. Actually,
It was,
Roseanne
it was.
killed her.
Fact. You can look
So-
it up.
Didn't
But don't.
Tom Arnold drove a spike through his heart?
Yes.
He said, "Look at my hair plugs." Ugh. Ugh.
Is he still alive?
Tom Arnold, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Norm Macdonald, no.
No, I know. No. Only the good die middle aged.
This has been an interesting one.
It has.
With the
If
papers?
ever it was like coming into a comic shop and having a conversation with the people at the comic shop, I think this one did it. Chuck Dixon would agree.
Chuck Dixon.
What a bizarre show.
That's what we do.
Oh, Aaron, do you want to take us? Actually, Aaron, show us what you're drawing.
Oh, it's not great, but I
Well, duh.
was playing around.
Little Jack Kirby.
Little Jack Kirby.
Little Jack Kirby.
He's seen better days.
Yeah, I mean, I get some of the proportion off, but I wasn't like super focusing on it.
Where's the crackle?
Was it Chuck Dixon who gave Nightcrawler to Dick Tracy's?
No, that was.
Oh, God.
No.
A recent guest at SUNY Oswego.
Oh, wait, it was Chuck Austin.
Chuck
yeah.
Austin, thank you. I was
May he
confusing-
rest in peace.
I was getting my Chucks confused.
No, he's pretty successful. He's had quite a few different kinds of ventures that have paid off.
All right, Aaron, let's take us home here.
Take us home tonight.
Take me home.
Hey, we can't afford it. You've been listening to the Oswego Comic Shop does a podcast with me, Ben Savage, star of Boy Meets World.
I'm Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and I'm sorry.
And I'm Martin Kinney, and I'm really mad. I was told Ryder Strong was going to be here.
Have a good night, everybody.